Summer may be coming to an end, but there's no reason why you can't enjoy fresh herbs all year long. Here's Hilah with some tips on how to preserve your herbs.
Hey, I'm Hilah from Hilah Cooking, and today on Home and Garden for Mere Mortals, I am going to show you 3 ways to preserve fresh herbs. Preserve the herbs, that's going to be my new bumper sticker. Okay, the first way is drying. Drying herbs works pretty well for most herbs. I'm going to demonstrate with some basil. So I've lightly rinsed these sprigs and just going to gently pat dry. You don't want to bruise the leaves. Okay, and then whatever herbs you're drying, you want to make sure that you give yourself at least like 1/2 inch of stem. And this is great because this is the time of year when you, depending on where you live in the country, you might start getting cold snaps and freezes at night. So you could go ahead and cut back all of your herbs and then preserve them for the winter. Just a paper lunch sack, leaf side down into your bag, and then sort of pinch the stems there, you know, in the bag. Just do what I'm doing, okay. And then you wanna fold it around just to lightly seal it. You know, you want some airflow, and the paper bag is gonna help with that just by virtue of it being porous paper, but you know, you don't wanna like close the whole top up and put a bunch of staples in it or anything. And then just use a binder clip or even a big paper clip sometimes will work, and pinch it shut like that. And then the structure of the bag is enough to just sort of hold it upright, and then just put it in a cool, dark place. Closet works well. For 2 weeks is generally pretty safe. So set that aside. I've got one that I started about 2 weeks ago. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, don't embarrass me, basil. He's totally dry. Oh yeah, see, it kept its nice green color because it was in the dark. And the leaves, when it's fully dry, should be really brittle and easy to crumble. So this looks good. Strip the leaves off, crumple it up a little bit. Get a little tiny jar, stick it in there, put a lid on it, and man, it smells so fresh and fragrant. It smells so much better than the stuff that you buy at the store that's already dried. So there we go. Option number 1, drying. Option number 2 is freezing your fresh herbs. This works great for herbs that don't do so well with drying, that lose a lot of their flavor, like parsley, cilantro, and chives will be my demo herb today. When you're freezing herbs, you want to prep them in whatever form you're going to want to use them. You'll want to pull the leaves off of the cilantro and parsley, get rid of the stems. And then for the chives, we want to chop them up however you think you might use them. Mostly you might add these to like cream soups or baked potatoes and stuff like that. So you probably want pretty small little chop. And these have already been rinsed. And then I wrapped them in a little paper towel to store them in the fridge. Another trick that we talked about last month on Home and Garden for Mere Mortals. Now the tips have gotten a little squishy, so I'm just gonna toss those. Ooh, didn't mean to give you guys the finger there. Okay, then, oh, that one didn't get cut. I'll just eat it. Put all of our herbs to be frozen onto a baking sheet. If your baking sheet won't fit in your freezer, just get to use a plate or anything like that, it's fine too. But I do like to line it with a little parchment or wax paper so they don't freeze to the sheet. And you can always reuse that parchment paper for baking later too. That's actually an unrelated tip. I often will reuse parchment paper 2 or 3 times whenever I'm baking. And then just spread it out as good as you can. Try not to have any like big clumps. We just stick it in the freezer for a couple of hours overnight, 24 hours if maybe you forget. And I've got one that's already frozen. Show you what to do with that. Voila, frozen chives. These have been in there probably about 24 hours. Press the air out as much as possible. It's super easy then if you need a tablespoon or 2 of chives, just go in and scoop out some. And store these in the freezer for at least a month. The third and final way to preserve your herbs is in butter. So we are basically gonna make a compound butter and then freeze that. And these can be as simple or as complicated as you like. For this example, I'm just gonna use some tarragon. I love putting tarragon butter on steaks or on vegetables. Okay, and then we're just gonna finely mince this. Force it into a little ball or a cylinder. and then slice it really thin. And like I said, you could add garlic, you could add lemon zest, you can add any kind of spices like pepper or cumin or cayenne pepper, anything that you think might make a nice combination. And then what's great about it is it's already like a bunch of flavors in one, and you can just add a little pat of your flavored butter to anything that needs a little bright, fresh pick-me-up. Okay, so that's about 2 tablespoons. I generally like to keep it like 1 tablespoon of herbs to 2 tablespoons of butter, just to make sure there's enough butter for it to all hold together. You can try to put a little bit more in there if you like, but I'm gonna go with this for now. And I'm using unsalted butter, so I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt too. Once it's all mixed up, I've got a sheet of wax paper here. We're just gonna basically make like a candy log roll. Pick the paper up on either side and use that to sort of shape this into a log. And then twist the ends shut. Awesome. I put this in just a little protective container here. And we'll put that in the freezer. And then whenever you need a little piece of tarragon butter, you can just unwrap it, cut off a little pat, and add it to whatever you're cooking. This will keep in the freezer for a couple of months. Another option that people like to do is to make pesto, and that works really well with like cilantro or parsley or basil. I've got a couple of pesto recipes on my channel at Hilah Cooking, so you can check those out if you like. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click that little red button down there to subscribe to Home and Garden for Mere Mortals. And if you have any other suggestions or tips on how to preserve fresh herbs, please leave a comment below. I'd love to see it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye. Hey, I'm Hilah from Hilah Cooking, and today on Home and Garden for Mere Mortals, I'm going to share with you some ways to keep your produce fresh for as long as possible. 2 things you have to keep in mind for keeping your produce from going bad is